Reading from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adikanda, chapter 2. By Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Are we able to describe the universal ecstasy that will be aroused when you will dance with all your devotees and servitors? Just by their constant remembrance of your lotus feet, your pure devotees free this world of all ills and inauspiciousness. The touch of their feet dispels the dark omens of the world, and a mere glance from them purifies all directions. O Lord Chaitanya, so glorious are your servitors that when they dance wonderfully, with their arms upraised, they remove all disturbances in the heavenly planets. O King, when Lord Krishna's devotees dance, accompanying the chanting of the Lord's name, the touch of their feet upon the earth purifies the whole world. Their glance purifies all directions, and their upraised arms purify the higher planetary systems. Hari Bhakta Sudadoi. O Lord Chaitanya, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, now appearing to perform congregational chanting and distribute Krishna Prema in the association of your devotees. O Lord, who possesses the words to describe your wonderful potency, to freely bestow the most confidential and hidden knowledge of the Vedas. O Lord, we ardently desire and pray for that sublime Krishna Prema that you keep as a great mystery, offering liberation instead to spiritual aspirants. You are the spiritual master of the entire creation, and you distribute priceless spiritual wealth because of your magnanimity. The chanting of your holy name is the fulfillment of all religious rituals and sacrifices, and now you are personally appearing in Navadvip to teach this practice. O Lord, be kind upon us, so that we may be fortunate enough to see your wonderful activities in Navadvip. O Lord, you will fulfill the innermost long-cherished desire of Sri Ganga Devi by sporting in her waters. Your exquisite transcendental form, which mystics and yogis envision in their meditations, is now becoming manifest before all in Navadvip. Excuse me. I offer obeisances to the holy Navadvip Dham and the house of Sri Jagannath Mishra and Srimati Sachi Devi, where you are making your divine appearance. In this matter, Lord Brahma and other demigods remained unseen while daily offering the choicest prayers to the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Proprietor of the entire creation remained in the womb of Srimati Sachi Devi, and on the full moon night in the month of Falguna he appeared. That full moon night was the summum bonum of all the auspicious holy occasions of the entire cosmic manifestation combined. The Supreme Personality descended, accompanied by the process of congregational chanting of the holy name. He would propagate this sublime process by practicing it himself. Who is able to know the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Lord? He arranged a lunar eclipse at the time of his birth. Upon seeing the lunar eclipse, the residents of Navadvip began loudly to chant the Lord's holy name and make other auspicious sounds. Endless teeming millions congregated on the banks of the Ganges for holy ablutions and rent the air with loud chanting of the Lord's name. The tumultuous sound of their chanting penetrated the coverings of this material universe and traveled beyond Brahmaloka. All the saintly persons marveled at this wonderful chanting and prayed for a perennial eclipse. All the devotees experienced deep exhilaration and exclaimed, "Such great joy! Maybe the Supreme Lord Krishna is making his appearance." The devotees went to the Ganges for their ablutions, surrounded by the roar of chanting from all directions. Women, children, aged, pious and impious, everyone loudly chanted Lord Hari's holy name during the lunar eclipse. The only sound within this universe was the all-prevailing chanting of Hari, 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 Hari. The demigods showered flower confetti everywhere and proclaimed victory as they beat clamorously upon their dundubi drums. Amidst the resounding adulations, the Lord and the very soul of the universe appeared as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi. Rahu eclipsed the moon. The ocean of the holy name inundated Navadvip, drowning and subduing the darkness of Kali Yuga. The Supreme Lord was manifest. All the 14 worlds all the 14 worlds resounded with the profound news. The moon-like Lord Chaitanya, Gauranga, had arisen. The residents of Nadia would be freed from all sorrows just by seeing the Lord, and their happiness and prosperity would increase day by day. The roll of the dundubi drums, the trumpeting of thousands of conch shells, the thrill of flutes and horns accompanied Vrindavan Das' song of praise to their lordships, Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. His beautifully brilliant luster overshadowed the sun's shining rays and dazzled my eyes. His drawn-out, blossoming, softly drooping lotus eyes defied description. The air was surcharged with joy. Lord Chaitanya had descended to the material world. One roaring sound of Lord Hari's name reverberated throughout the universe, beyond Brahmaloka, carrying the tidings of Lord Chaitanya's birth. His exquisite complexion was the color of sandalwood paste. His expansive breast was decorated with a gently swaying wildflower garland, and his radiant moon-like face was pleasing, cooling, and comforting. His elongated arms reached down to his knees. Sounds of victory and praise permeated all directions, and the earth felt especially blessed at the advent of Lord Chaitanya. Some sang in great joy, while others danced in ecstasy. However, for Kali it was a calamity in the midst of spiritual revelry. The crown jewels of all Vedic conclusions are the Supreme Lords, Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhus. Their causeless mercy discriminates not upon the ignorant and derelict. I, Vrindavan Das, offer this song to them. The golden moon, Lord Chaitanya, had arisen as sounds of great joy filled the air. His beauty humbled 1,000,000 cupids, and at his own dancing and singing he smiled. His lovely face and charming eyes added to the marks of divinity upon his transcendental person. His feet were marked with the auspicious signs of the flag and lightning. His entire exquisite form was decorated to enchant the minds of everyone. Fear and despondency were dissipated, and the Lord was showered with immense good fortune. I, Vrindavan Das, offer this song to my very life and soul, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. The demigods became overjoyed and sang in praise of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. A mere glance at the Lord's beatific, moon-like face was enough to extirpate all miseries. This was a glorious and happy occasion. Lord Anantasesh, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods all took up their new forms and, using the lunar eclipse as an excuse, continuously sang Lord Hari's name. I cannot fully describe their exultation. Million crowds poured into Nadia with shouts of Hari, Hari. Navadvip was in the grips of unbounded bliss. The Supreme Lord, demigods, and human beings had all come together to frolic with one another. The demigods came to Srimati Sachi Devi's house in the darkness of the eclipse, and unseen by humankind, fell to the ground and offered obeisances to Lord Chaitanya. Who can describe these abstruse pastimes of the Lord? Some demigods broke out in glorification, some held an umbrella above the Lord, some fanned him with chamaras, while others showered flowers in ecstasy, and still others sang and danced exuberantly. The Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya, had appeared with all his pure devotees, and the atheists can never understand. I, Vrindavan Das, sing the nectarian glories of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. The rumble of Dumdubi drums, hymns, prayers, and sweet music mingled and resounded in the air. Today, immediately, we can meet that Supreme Personality who is a mystery even in the Vedas. The demigods in Indrapuri were tumultuously happy. Busily decorating themselves, they felt extremely fortunate that they could receive Lord Chaitanya's blessed association in Navadvip. They embraced and kissed each other without shame in exultation that the Lord of Navadvip, Lord Chaitanya, had taken his birth. There was no distinction of friend or foe. In great curiosity, the demigods came to Navadvip amidst loud chanting of Krishna's name. Infected by the transcendental mellows of Lord Chaitanya, they became almost unconscious in ecstasy and joined in singing the glories of Lord Chaitanya. They saw the beautiful form of Lord Chaitanya. He was more exquisite than 1,000 rising full moons. He had accepted the human form and was making everyone loudly chant the Lord's holy name, taking the eclipse as an excuse. The Supreme Lord had descended with all his energies and expansions. This is incomprehensible to the atheist. Let me, Vrindavan Das, sing in adulation about my life and soul, Lord Sri Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Adikanda, Chapter 3. The horoscope of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even before he took his birth, the Lord propagated the chanting of his holy name. Streams of people went for their bath in the Ganga at the time of the eclipse, and all along the way they chanted the Lord's name. Some, who from their birth never once uttered the Lord's name, now chanted that name on their way to the Ganga. The sound of chanting emanated from every direction, and the Supreme Lord, the best of the Brahmins, smiled to himself as he made his appearance. Sri Jagannath Mishra and Srimati Sachi Devi glanced at their child's beautiful face and were overcome with unbounded joy. Overwhelmed, the ladies stood around the child, not knowing what to do. Excitedly, they ululated in jubilation. Relatives and friends hurried to see the newborn child. Sri Jagannath Mishra's house was a scene of great exultation. Srimati Sachi Devi's father, Sri Nilambara Chakravarti, found esoteric and wonderful signs in every house of the child's astrological chart. Sri Chakravarti was astounded by the baby's beauty and saw all divine symbols upon his person. He said, "A much accepted prophecy in Bengal is that someday a king will be born in Bengal as a Brahmin's son. Only the future will prove whether this is the actual child." In the presence of all, Sri Nilambara Chakravarti, an expert astrologer, began explaining the ramifications of the different astrological signs in the Lord's chart. Sri Sri Guru Goranga Sundar Radha Kiridari Ki Jai. Sri Chakravarti was astounded by the baby's beauty and saw all the divine symbols upon his person. The further he delved into the child's exalted chart, the more difficulty he found in describing the Lord's glorious position. Actually, the qualities of this child displayed in his horoscope are beyond those of a king. In fact, they appear to be beyond descriptions. The child will conquer the learning of Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods, and be the greatest scholar. He will be a natural repository of all divine qualities. Excuse me. Present in that gathering was a great saint in the guise of a Brahmana who made predictions on the Lord's future. The Brahmana said, "This child is the Supreme Lord Narayan himself. He will establish the essence of all religion. He will initiate a wonderful preaching movement and deliver the whole world. He will bestow upon everyone that gift which is forever desirable, even by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Srila Shukadev Goswami. Upon seeing him, people will feel compassion for all living entities and become callous towards material joys and pains. This will be the greatest benediction for the whole world. Not to mention ordinary men, even hardcore atheists will worship the lotus feet of this child." Excuse me. He will be glorified throughout the entire creation, and people from all orders of life will come to worship him. He is the personification of pure Bhagavad religion, Sanatana Dharma, the eternal occupation of all souls in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, the benefactor of the Brahmanas, cows and devotees, and the affectionate devoted son of his parents. This child has come to accomplish great works, just as the Supreme Lord Narayan incarnated to re-establish religious principles. Who can explain the imports of this child's exalted astrological and esoteric symptoms? How fortunate you are, Sri Jagannath Mishra, a leader amongst men. I offer my obeisances to you, the illustrious father of this child. I feel greatly fortunate that I could calculate his astrological chart. His name accordingly will be Sri Vishwambar. He will be known to all as Navadvip Chandra, the moon of Navadvip. He is spiritual bliss personified. The Brahman did not speak further about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes of accepting the renounced order sannyas, since that would have disturbed the loving emotion of his parents. Sri Jagannath Mishra was enthralled with ecstasy over the descriptions of his son. He immediately wanted to offer gifts to the Brahman. He was a poor man with few possessions, yet feeling great jubilation, Sri Mishra fell at the Brahman's feet and cried. The Brahmana also called Sri Mishra's feet, and everyone present shouted, Hari, Hari, in great joy. The relatives and friends were all praised for the child, and they blessed him as they heard the supernatural predictions about his future. Soon the musicians arrived, playing their respective instruments, clay drums, flute, and shehnai, and filled the air with wonderful music. Ladies from the higher planets mingled freely yet unnoticed with the ladies from earth in this wonderful gathering. The mother of the demigods, Aditi, smiled and placed her right hand, which held auspicious grass and paddy, upon the child's head to bless him, saying, Live long. Please remain eternally in this material world and always manifest your pastimes. Sri Aditi thus explained the expression, live long. Srimati Sachi Devi and the other members of the joyous assembly noticed the extraordinary beauty of these ladies, but they hesitated to inquire about their identities. The demigods respectfully took the dust from Sachi Devi's feet. She could not speak through extreme exaltation. Neither the Vedas nor Lord Anantashesh could describe the waves of jubilation and drowned Sri Jagannath Mishra's house. The entire population of Nadia seemed to be present at Sachi Devi's house to experience that indescribable joy. Wherever the people were, in their houses, on the banks of the Ganga, on the streets, they all loudly chanted the Lord's name. Everyone jubilantly celebrated the Lord's birth, unknowingly thinking that the festivity was actually for the lunar eclipse. Lord Chaitanya appeared on the full moon night of the month of Falguna. This day is the most worshipful by Lord Brahma and all other great personalities. This day of the Lord's appearance is the holiest of holy occasions. This day is devotion personified. Lord Chaitanya appeared on the full moon night of Falguna, and Lord Nityananda appeared on the 13th night of the waxing moon. Both these days are all auspicious and transcendental occasions. If one properly follows these two holy occasions, he develops pure Krishna prema and cuts asunder the knots of material illusion. Similarly, the appearance days of pure Vaishnava devotees, like the appearance day of the Supreme Lord, are also all auspicious and transcendental. Whosoever hears the narrations of Lord Chaitanya's birth is freed from all miseries in life and in death. Anyone who hears Lord Chaitanya's pastimes immediately gets love of Krishna and becomes his eternal servitor. He comes with the Lord each time he advances in this material world. The Adhikanda text is wonderful to hear because it contains descriptions of Lord Chaitanya's appearance. The Vedic literature describes these pastimes of the Lord as eternal, although apparently he sometimes appears and sometimes disappears. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes have no beginning and no end. I write them down only by the mercy of the Lord. I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet and all the feet of all his devotees. I pray that I may be excused from all offenses. I, Vrindavan Das, offer this song to the lotus feet of my life and soul, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Jai Adhikanda Chapter 3, the horoscope of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Sarvabhavana Das Ki Jai. Jai Srila Gurudev. Hare Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madhamamala Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chalna Kadadara Sivasari Kora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanatan Bhattara Guna Siti Vaku Palada Bhattara Guna Jai Kusai Kuri Charana Banda Jai Devi Gnana Savista Pura Jai Kusai Jai Murita Radha Tam Sabara Parareno Rakam Chaka Tam Dira Charama Sevi Bhakta Sameda Janane Janane More Adila Jai Kusai Jai Veda Chakolaba Radha Krishna Nita Lila Kolila Prata Anande Bodhari Bhaja Vrindava Sri Guru Vaishnava Pare Manjayana Sri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriya Hari Nam Sankirtan Kori Hare Samada Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Sachi Nandana Jaya Sachi Nandana Tora Hari Tora Hari Jaya Sachi-Nandana Tora Hari Nita Gauranga Nita Gauranga Jaya Tora Hari Nita Gauranga Hari Bo Nita Gauranga Nita Gauranga Hari Bo Nita Gauranga Jaya Sabai Kai Sisi Guru Kuranga Sundara Radha Kyudara Jogi Jaya Jaya Vishnu Bhakti Bhakti Nimala Jaya Maharaj Ki Jaya Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Jaya Vrinda Ki Jaya Om Vishnu Pachila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Pachila Bhakti Vakakshila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Gurvaka Ki Jai. Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sabashara Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sabashara Sri Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakuna Radha Kuna Kiri Govardhana Ki Jai. Tulasi Narayana Ki Jai. Kamaya Muna Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Sri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat East London Chapter Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat West London Chapter Ki Jai. Samadveta Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Samadveta Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nita Gaura Premanande Hari